Copenhagen is the splendid and historic capital city of Denmark. It often ranks at the top of lists for standard of living. In this video I'm going to show you the top best things to see, including the historic centre, some amazing palaces and churches, as well as a bunch of great museums, sprinkled in with a few suggestions for where to eat. Okay, let's have a look. Let's start in Copenhagen's historic city centre. The first place you will want to visit is the super famous Nyhavn, which means New Harbour. This is where everyone goes to take selfies for Instagram, so why not join in? It is incredibly busy and lively, and it's great to visit day or night. It was constructed in the 17th century and was once the home of the very famous author Hans Christian Andersen, who resided here for 18 years. You can take a boat trip from here, which takes you out into the wider city, which I didn't try, so I recommend walking along both sides of the harbour to find the best views, such as this one, which I decided to time-lapse. At the top end of the new harbour is a giant plaza called Kongens Nytorv, which stands for New King's Square. Here you will find a metro stop with the same name, which also happens to be where all four metro lines combine, making it a great place to explore the wider city from. Leading off from the square is the Strøget, which is the main shopping street of Copenhagen and also one of the longest pedestrianised shopping streets in the world. So if you're looking to buy some stuff, I'm sure you'll find it here somewhere. No trip to the Danish capital would be complete without trying some Danish pastries. There are many shops in the city centre where you can have your fill, including some very old and famous ones, such as from St. Peter's Bakery, which is the oldest in the city and is famous for its cinnamon rolls. Just around the corner is the often overlooked Cathedral of Copenhagen, the Church of Our Lady. Built in neoclassical style, it was finished in 1829. It's free to enter and is wonderful and peaceful inside. You can even go up to the galleries to get some nice views over the magnificent nave. Next on our list is perhaps the second most famous and iconic landmark of Copenhagen, the Rosenborg Castle. This is the first of three royal sites and is also the oldest and the most interesting. Surrounding the castle is an extensive park called the Koningshav or King's Garden. This is the oldest royal park in the city and is a great place to relax away from the hustle and bustle. But it is also where you can get some great shots of the castle. The castle was built in the 17th century in a Dutch Renaissance style, originally for King Christian IV. It is one of the most popular destinations, so it might be worth booking tickets in advance or do what I did and visit midweek in winter when it's a little quieter. The interior of the castle is full of historic rooms filled with authentic furniture and other artifacts. In fact, it's an absolute treasure trove. The most famous room is the Long Hall, which was once the main reception room for the royal family as well as a banqueting hall. This large space has 12 tapestries depicting the king's victories in the Scanian War, as well as the royal thrones and coronation chairs at either end. Underneath the palace you can also enter the vaults, which contain a vast hoard of treasure and other items collected over the centuries. Here you can also see the crown jewels and the Danish crown regalia. Basically that's a lot of expensive looking shiny stuff that doesn't look very comfortable to wear, but it does look very impressive. While you are here, you can also cross the road and check out some other cool locations. First, there is the Botanical Gardens, complete with impressive palm house where you can climb up to the upper walkway to see the large collection of plants. There is also the National Gallery, which contains a great collection of art and is housed in another impressive building which includes this interesting modern extension. The art collection ranges from the 14th century to the current day, and you will see paintings by many well-known artists inside. Next up is the best museum in Copenhagen, so if you're only here for a short visit and only have time for one, then this is the one that I recommend. The Ny Carlsberg Glyptotek is not actually about the world famous lager, but was founded by the son of the founder of the Carlsberg brewery, but you won't find much beer here. Instead you will find a world-class collection of sculptures and paintings, all housed in a really magnificent building. The current building was finished in 1897 and was built specifically for the collection, which had grown too large for its previous premises. It has some amazing spaces inside, including this stunning central atrium complete with palm trees and fountains. From here you can access the rest of the building. The most interesting room being this huge neoclassical space with its epic Ionic classical columns, which houses a collection of ancient sculptures and friezes. Another interesting room contains a vast collection of ancient Roman heads, some of which seem very lifelike. Quite amazing considering the age. I hope I look as good when I'm that old. There are many other rooms absolutely full of memorable life-size statues, mainly from ancient Greece, Etruscan and ancient Rome. Another section of the museum also has a great collection of artifacts from ancient Egypt. This includes many burial objects as well as some ancient sarcophagi. And as well as all the ancient stuff, there are also some more recent European collections, including many lifelike sculptures that almost seem to look at you. Some of the most famous of these include works by the renowned artist Rodin. There is also a great collection of mostly French paintings from many names you will recognise, including Manet, Monet, Gauguin and Degas. Of particular note is this bronze cast of a Degas statue showing the little dancer of 14 years complete with ballet dress. The museum also has a number of other rooms for special exhibitions, and to top it off you can access the roof for some lovely views over the city. More or less next door to the Ny Carlsberg Glyptotek, and also right next to the main train station, is the world famous Tivoli Gardens, which is an amusement park and was opened in 1843. In fact, the third oldest amusement park in the world. There is another older one in Copenhagen which I didn't visit, so let me know if you've been to both, which is better. You do need to pay to enter the park, and then all the rides and amusements inside require separate tickets, so it can be a little pricey. However, it's kind of fun to walk around even if you don't want to go on any of the rides. I visited in Halloween, and as you can see they decorated it for that theme, so it might look a little different depending when you visit. Unlike nearly all of the recommendations in this video, this one is open till late at night, and because of all the bright lights I think it's probably the best to visit in the evening. There's a lot of fun rides, so here are some highlights to give you an idea of what's there. If all the rides made you peckish, then there is the nice Tivoli food hall right next to the gardens. This has a great variety of dishes, including the traditional Copenhagen smørrebrød, which, as far as I can tell, is just about anything you can imagine on bread. It's quite yummy, although a little pricey. Still, you need to try it at least once when you are in Copenhagen. There's a whole bunch of other food to try as well while you're there, plus there's this little outdoor courtyard area where you can go and eat and also get views over the Tivoli Gardens. Not too far from Tivoli is another epic museum, the National Museum of Denmark. This place is exhaustingly huge, so set aside a few hours to explore it. It's centered around a very large and impressive central atrium from which you can visit several different sections with different themes and collections. This museum has a little bit of everything you can imagine. In fact, too much to mention, so I will briefly mention some of the highlights that interested me. In one section there is a great collection from ancient Egypt, including all sorts of objects and burial goods, not to mention of course some mummies and a great variety of sarcophagi, some of which are very colourful and very well preserved. In the same section is also a vast amount of objects from ancient Greece and other Mediterranean cultures, including a cool amount of bronze armour and weapons. And as well as Europe, there are also rooms full of objects from all over the world, including from Africa and Asia. Here you can see some cool samurai armour and glittering robes from China. Perhaps the most interesting parts of the museum are those focusing on more local Danish history. Some highlights from this section include this amazingly well preserved wagon, which was placed in a peat bog about 2,000 years ago. Another slightly sad highlight is the remains of this young girl. These are the preserved remains of a teenage girl dating from about 1370 BC. But that's just a few highlights. Honestly, this place is awesome, so it's very much worth visiting. Our next location is just up the street from the National Museum and is a huge Christiansborg palace. This monumental building is the seat of the Danish government, the Prime Minister's office and the Supreme Court. There are also reception rooms used by the royal family. There have been a few castles on this site dating back to the 12th century, however the bulk of the current building was finished in 1927, so it's not quite as old as it looks. The grounds around the building can be walked around, and if you are lucky like me, you might get to see the horse guards practicing in the grounds with their colourful blue jackets. I believe they were getting ready for an official visit from a foreign leader to the palace, which unfortunately meant that the staterooms and interiors were closed for visitors when I was there. However, I had visited the palace in the past, so here are some photos from back then to give you an idea of the kind of splendid rooms you will find inside, and I'm assuming it hasn't changed too much. You can also climb the tower for some of the best views over the city. When I visited, not everything was closed. The impressive historic kitchens could be visited to look at quite a lot of impressively shiny pots and pans. And it's also possible to go underneath the palace to explore the remains of the previous buildings. Right next to the palace is the splendid Palace Chapel, which dates from 1826. This impressive and ornate building has a lofty central dome. The building is used for royal functions such as the laying in state for deceased monarchs. Also next to the palace, but separate from it, is the Thorvaldsens Museum. This small building, which looks a little like an Egyptian temple, houses the works of a famous Danish sculptor, Bertel Thorvaldsen. Inside is a vast collection of his work, many of which are very impressive. Our next location is where you get the best views of Denmark. This is the Rundetaarn, or Round Tower. It was built as an astronomical observatory and was completed in 1642. What makes this one unusual is the wide circular equestrian staircase that is often cited as being built for the king so he could ride his horse to the top. It's quite interesting walking up this curving ramp. At the top is a large open platform with fantastic panoramic views over the city. While you're here, don't miss the Trinitatis church, which is attached to the tower. This 18th century building is very peaceful and full of interesting artifacts and historical objects. All that has probably made you a little bit hungry. At the base of the tower is a yummy hot dog stand, generally considered one of the best in the city, so if you're looking for something quick and tasty, then make sure you try one. Heading to the far side of the city centre is the next location, which is the Kastellet and also the weirdly popular Little Mermaid statue. The statue was unveiled in 1913 and is based on the story of The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. It's quite small and not that impressive, but is for some reason a very popular photo spot, so you'll most likely need to wait to get a nice shot of it without too many people who will also be wanting to get good shots. The statue is also popular with vandals, and there have been various attempts to damage it, including the head being sawn off and stolen. Each time it gets damaged, it gets repaired. After looking at the statue for 2 minutes and taking some selfies, you should head into the Kastellet, which is free to enter coastal fortress dating from the 17th century. Inside you will find barracks and other buildings, some of which are still in use today. It's a very pleasant place to walk around, especially taking a stroll up and around the ramparts. Not too far from the Kastellet is the third and final palace in this top 10, the Amalienborg. However, before we go inside there, it's worth stopping off at the nearby Frederiks church, often called the Marble Church. This impressive building was built between 1749 and 1894 and has the largest dome of any church in Scandinavia. The interior is incredibly impressive and free to enter, so it's definitely worth going in. Right, back to the Amalienborg, which was constructed between 1750 and 1760 and consists of 4 identical palaces facing an impressive octagonal courtyard with a statue of Frederick V in the middle. This is the official residence of the Danish royal family, and you can see the royal guard patrolling the site in their blue jackets and fur hats. One wing of the palace buildings can be entered. Inside you will find a series of impressive rooms including grand dining rooms, ballrooms and rooms that are preserved as they were for various members of the royal family over the years. It's really interesting, definitely worth having a look. And after going in the palace, you can stroll down to the riverfront and take in these great views of the modern opera house across the water, which looks very cool, especially in the evening. Nearly everything you've seen in this guide has been historical and expensive to enter, so I thought I would end with something modern and free as a nice contrast. Situated on the waterfront is the Royal Library, usually known as the Black Diamond for obvious reasons. This impressive building was designed by Danish architect Schmidt Hammer Lassen and was opened in 1999. Inside is a really awesome modern atrium with curving balconies and escalators. Make sure you head to the top to take in these impressive views looking down. That's it for a top 10. It was hard to pick 10 as Copenhagen has many more things to see, so let me know in the comments if you disagree with my picks. Thank you very much for visiting. I hope you have an awesome day and cheerio!